Since its birth in 1975, Europa Park has continued to grow, rather like its inspiration, Europe. Today, the German park covers 100 hectares and boasts 15 European-themed areas, including Italy, France, Switzerland, Spain, and Greece. A vacation atmosphere that attracts more than 5 million visitors annually.
We are, I think, number 2 after Disneyland Paris in number of visits. And we are the 20 biggest parks worldwide if you look also to year-round parks. If you look only to seasonal parks, we are number 1 in all over the world.
Behind its success, the diversity and quantity of attractions, 100 in all. Among them, fjord rafting, as well as roller coasters that are super complex to maintain. Like the wooden Wodan and its 2 million nails, but also the Silver Star, all in steel, with its breathtaking 67-meter drop.
Silver Star has a very heavy trains, 16 metric tons. Silver Star has a track length of 1,680 meters. It's one of the highest roller coasters in Europe.
The other main attraction is Blue Fire, a challenge for the builder who had to find a way to design a series of dizziness-inducing elements like this 32-meter looping, the highest in Europe on a launched roller coaster.
Blue Fire was the first at Europa Park with inversions. So we worked very hard to make a nice layout, to have all the technical issues solved.
The Blue Fire is an LSM launch coaster with a great catapult start in the beginning, gives you in 2.5 seconds the speed to 100 kilometers per hour.
Europa Park is also the largest hotel complex in Germany. 6 hotels, including one right opposite the new aquatic space, Rulantica. Here there's a Nordic theme, with 30 toboggans spread over 32,000 square meters, the equivalent of 5 soccer pitches.
Most of the technology we try to keep in the basement. It's a very big area. You can drive a truck into that.
In the race for thrills, the park also wants to be a forerunner with this world premiere that optimizes the roller coasters that may be losing attendance because they're slower and older.
Coastiality is the first technology combining a traditional roller coaster with a virtual headset, and you feel in another world.
And behind all this is a family, the Macs. 8 generations of entrepreneurs. The last in line is determined to further expand the Europa Park empire.
It never stops, so if you know the Mac family, there's always invention and we are always moving forward.
Welcome to Europa Park, the biggest seasonal theme park in the world. Located in southern Germany, several kilometers from the border with France, it covers the equivalent of 140 soccer fields and has welcomed 120 million visitors since it opened. A national record and a source of pride for the man who created it, Roland Mack. Now 73 years old, he still has the soul of a child when he walks among its attractions.
I live here, I enjoy my life here, and I enjoy working here. And since 50 years, I was always going very happy to the office and to the park because it's the best profession you can find in the world.
For Roland Mack and his father, Franz, the business began in the 1970s. Together, they had the idea of creating a place for recreation. It would be 1/7 of its current size, 15 hectares with a few rides in Rust. The start of an incredible expansion for the small village, too.
So the decision to do something close, far away from a big city in the countryside, that was a big decision really to be made, and everybody thought it's going to be a failure, it's going to collapse after the first 2-3 years because there are not enough people around us. So this was a hard time to convince the banks, to convince the partners, and to convince ourselves that's the right decision to do.
With success comes recognition. Today, Roland and his father Franz have streets in Rust named after them and a park that can't be ignored. In high season, it employs more than 8,000 staff, and that's without counting the others, entrepreneurs and workers who ensure the running of the site. At Europa Park, there's always construction underway. Take a look at Rolantica, the latest major project erected in 2019. A water park shaped like a shell, with a hall 20 meters high, 30 slides, and the largest wave pool in Germany, its size estimated at 2 handball courts. Leisure on a gigantic scale. With Rolantica's bottom line at 150 million euros, this is the largest investment ever made by the Mack family.
We were in discussion to build an outdoor water park in the beginning because it's much cheaper to build. It's less budget you need, because if you cover everything, you have to do a finalized decision about size, because you can't add like you can add in an open park or in an open water park. So that was a hard decision, but we finally came to the conclusion that with the hotels, with the site that Europa Park has to be closed in some month of the year, we should have something for the resort, for the hotels, which can be open all year round. So we decided to build it indoor.
A decision that is far from being set in stone, as since opening, slides have been added outside, making this summer area the largest outdoor water playground in Germany. There are more than 100 water rides, a 500 square meter pool, and a huge tipping bucket. But why did Europa Park get into water attractions? Why offer something other than roller coasters? The answer comes from Roland's youngest son, who has always been passionate about the world of leisure.
My name is Thomas Mack. I'm the 8th generation of the family Mack, and I was born in 1981, so 6 years after the opening of Europa Park. So already 10 years ago we decided, or we asked our guests what you want as the next park, and they always said we want a water park, and so we, already 15 years ago, we decided to build a water park.
Ambition then, to offer the public an adventure that is different from other water parks. No tropical atmosphere, no palm trees, but mermaids and trolls. Rolantica is inspired by Nordic mythology, a different narrative universe from the 6 Europa Park hotels, all of which are also themed.
So Rolantica was also built to bring, of course, more people to the region, but also to make them stay longer. So at Europa Park, we had like a 1.4 average stay, which is very low. And now we want that the people are staying longer for 2, 3, or 4 nights. And before they only stayed for 1 night, maybe.
Rolantica took 2 years and a lot of resources to build. 130 companies and 1,000 staff are involved, as well as 11 on-site cranes. We got a chance to go behind the scenes of this extraordinary construction with the man who dreamed of this long ago.
I liked my job because I was helping to make Rolantica came true. I started in 1996 with the early research for it. Then I did all the planning process, the research in different countries of the world. For 2 years, I was traveling all over the world to test and find out what is good and not so good. And after that, I did the permit process, public hearings.
The next phase would require gargantuan infrastructure preparation. Some 80,000 cubic meters of earth required excavating. Then 40,000 cubic meters of gravel would be laid, along with 1,800 meters of sewers and 3 kilometers of pipelines, as well as a gas pipeline nearly 2 kilometers long. Figures that are explained by the size of the site, as big as 63 soccer fields.
I would say the footprint of the building is more than 30,000 square meters. The footprint of the whole area is 430,000 square meters. Within that area, we have some backstage area for Energy Central, but most of the technology we try to keep in the basement. So under Rulantica, there are huge technical rooms. Even under Svalgorok, the outdoor play area, which doesn't look that big, has a huge cellar with all the pumps and filters. So it's a very big area. You can drive a truck into that.
Rulantica operates thanks to this underground world, unknown to the general public, accessible only to qualified personnel. The technical team comprises 20 experts who ensure the maintenance of the entire site. And the site is fortunate in that it enjoys easy access to an underground water reservoir from the Rhine Valley, an almost inexhaustible volume of 45 billion cubic meters, the equivalent of Lake Constance. But how to treat this water?
We use chlorine gas to disinfect. It's all controlled. There are chemical controllers, and in our technical room and in our lifeguarding central, we have all the displays, and as long as everything is okay, all green light. If there's a little mistake or a little parameter off the corridor we defined, it immediately goes red and we can go with it. But it's not like a fast-moving thing. You have to be very careful in treating the water. It's not like this. It's more like a big boat which needs a lot of time to turn.
This technology allows visitors to enjoy quality warm water in an environment that is also pleasant. For this, the water is maintained at a temperature of at least 30 degrees, and the ambient temperature is always 1 degree above that of the water to avoid condensation and window fogging. Rulantica is 4,000 cubic meters of moving bathing water, 29 ventilation systems, and super eco-heating. The energy and heat are produced by 2 huge turbines that are connected to the hotel right opposite of the water park, the Kronasar.
In summertime, when we do not need that much warm energy, we have an absorption system which produces cold climate out of the warm energy, and we can use it to AC the hotel. We have cool rooms using the warm energy from our generators.
The Kronasar is the 6th Europa Park hotel, a 4-star hotel which benefits from the water park clientele, a park with a building of equally impressive dimensions. Ceiling height, 25 meters. The roof is made of glued laminated wood, glulam. And in order to assemble the strips of half-timbered coffers, everything was made on site, on the grounds.
It was pretty amazing to see all the construction coming together. For example, the huge supports of the roof, they are more than 100 meters long and more than 100 tons heavy. So it was a real big thing to get them into the building. And we pre-installed, for example, the ventilation into the beams. So this was a very smart way of constructing. And we have more than 100 pumps in the cellar which are guaranteeing the water flow. We were building several very new attractions which are not known to Europe right now, bringing big slides from Canada.
The arrival of the slides was also an important moment. There were around 100 containers on the construction site.
It was almost like Christmas. Every container, you opened it and then all these presents. And we have a big construction yard where all the parts came together and our installers put them together. They were pre-installed and then lifted to their position. In some areas, you couldn't close the roof, so you had to wait until the slides are in and then you could close the roof. So the construction work was a lot of coordination.
As a result, Rulantica was voted Best Water Park in Europe in 2020 by the British industry magazine Park World. But what does it feel like to be inside a slide like the Winterritt? How does it work?
the inventor of that slide, he was an Olympic ski racer from Canada, and he said, when I talked with him, how do you create such a slide? He said, yeah, from skiing I know which is the good swing and how to do it, and so he designed it like that, and it is the form of a slide, and then to have a safe sliding effect, you need a certain level and amount of water, which is automatically controlled, and then you have a perfect slide path.
Today, only 1/3 of the surface of the water park is being used. But the first building built will be a springboard for more innovation every year. A concept similar to that of Europa Park. A park which, as its name suggests, is dedicated to Europe. And every year it unveils a new attraction in one of its 15 European-themed areas. Districts created to give visitors the notion of travel.
When you think back that in the 70s, Europe was still not together like it is today, I think it was quite visionary of my father and my grandfather to call this place Europa Park.
The first themed area was Italian, and we had to wait 7 years for its debut in 1982.
No, we haven't had the money to build the Italian village and the theme park because it's the most expensive way to create a park with theming. Just to have nature and rides, that's much less expensive. So we had to save money first, try to gain some money, to put some money on the side to develop this idea, which was always in us, but we couldn't afford it in the very beginning.
Italy was such a huge success, so we just decided to continue with the European theme. And so Europa Park is not only about attractions.
And yet there are 100 of them, including several that are particularly impressive. This is Wodan, created in 2012 and famous for its sharp turns. Height 40 meters, speed 100 kilometers per hour, which makes it the second highest and second fastest roller coaster in Europe. Wodan is also a marvel of construction. It took 26 people 9 months to perfect it, with all components made on site. Some Wodan figures, around 1,000 cubic meters of wood utilized. Add to that 21,000 cubic meters of beams, 2 million nails, and 100,000 screws, all of which makes the job of this safety engineer more complex.
I like this place a lot because it's a lot of different work. It's not every day the same. You have very special fields. It's almost like a small city.
Inside, where everything runs like clockwork, the teams must adapt to each attraction and deal with all the different materials. It could be steel or wood, very sensitive to water.
Our wooden roller coaster is a little bit more tricky because it's a lot more work, because you have more maintenance on the track itself. The wooden structure has to be checked daily. So we have a team that walks through the whole track every morning and checks all the bolts, because there are a lot more bolts than on steel roller coaster, because there is no welding. And also the wood that is outside, the weather condition, there's a wear on the wood. And so sometimes we need to change a few parts.
Although wood requires more checks, it's still very popular. Its look reminds visitors of the attractions of yesteryear and hints at the risk of collapse when in fact everything is under control. A psychological chill, nothing like the one felt on Silver Star, a steel monster some 73 meters tall, which also gives white knuckles to the team in charge of its maintenance.
It's a very high attraction, so the maintenance is a little bit more effort. We have to get a very high lift, and we check this structure every half year for 100% and every day for a part of the track.
All this work has enabled us to enjoy this circuit for 20 years. A circuit that was the highest in Europe up until 2012, when it was dethroned by the Shambhala hyper roller coaster in Spain, 16 feet higher. Silver Star is 1,620 meters long and has a throughput of 1,750 passengers per hour. But how does this ride work?
The Silver Star is, I would say, a classic roller coaster type. So we have a lift hill with a chain a chain hill, and there's a part underneath the train that locks into the chain. The motor, the engines on this attraction is only to get the train up the hill, and once you're on top of the hill, it only rolls. There's only gravity in the work. The hill is around 73 meters high, and then there's a very steep first drop. It's 68.5 degrees angle, where you come into the first valley, which is very forceful. It's a left turn, and we'll have special moments during this track is the airtime. It's the feeling when you feel your stomach wants to go up, but your body is going down because the track is already bending down. And that's why it's, I guess, a fan favorite, because that's the sensation that everyone really thinks of when they think of a roller coaster.
With a speed of 127 kilometers per hour, braking requires the implementation of several elements. Halfway through, the train decelerates to 36 kilometers an hour at 33 meters above the ground. Then it dives again, triggering powerful airtime before moving on to a 270-degree spiral.
So the final brake, you have a lot of speed normally when you come into the final brake. So we need to make sure your brake is comfortable and it doesn't hurt the people. There's a code for that in Europe, which defines the amount of G-force you can put on the body when you decelerate. And to make this much more comfortable and also maintenance-free, basically, wear-free, we use magnets. The magnets are a very, very good system because a magnet cannot fail. It works in the rain, it works in the heat. It works without energy. You don't need a spring, you don't need pressure air. So there's a material like copper, for example. If you place this in a movement in a magnetic field, there's a force that always pushes against the movement. So it breaks down the train's speed, and it's also proportional. So if the train is very fast, the force is very strong, and once the train gets slower, the force also gets less.
Silver Star and Wodan were not built by the company of the family which manages the park. It's an important detail because here, 90% of the attractions come from Mack Rides, a roller coaster builder located 40 kilometers from Europa Park. In Waldkirch, in the Black Forest, a stimulating environment for Roland, who lived there in his early childhood.
In front of my sleeping room, the Mack company set up all the rides. So I was a test pilot when I was a young boy. I was very close to the industry.
This industry benefits from very old family engineering tradition. Mack Rides has been in the Mack family since 1780. The founder, Paul, made wagons and pipes. A century later, the company began to manufacture rides and attractions. But it was with Heinrich Mack that the first roller coaster was created in 1921. The beginning of a new era was confirmed by the 6th generation. France would give Mack Rides an international dimension.
My father was, he was a leading head of the company. He was an entrepreneur. He was an inventor. He was a hardworking man. He had a lot of things which you should adjust. You better adjust than not and being against, because a lot of things he did was running into the success.
Today, 250 people work for Mack Rides. And for the director since 2005, it's a constant challenge.
I love this industry. It's always fun. And one of my jobs is, of course, opening rides. So, you know, we sell our rides all over the world.
95% of products are exported. Among them, 155 roller coasters. There's a strategic explanation for this.
It's very difficult for us to sell rides in Germany because all the other parks say, oh, no, 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 we don't want to make the Mack family bigger, that they can expand the park, yeah? So because they have the most visitors in Germany is in Europa Park.
And the park exists today for the simple reason that Franz and his son Roland wanted a worthy showcase to display the attractions produced at Mack Rides.
It was a very good decision in the 70s to do so, because We have a showcase with Europa Park. We can try new rides, prototype. It's much more convincing if you can try it, if you can talk to people. How did you like it?
And this is what we do still today, that we bring our clients and can show our rides at Europa Park.
The key asset for Mack Rides would be Blue Fire, launched in 2009, its first mega coaster. Before then, the company was not capable of building one. The market wanted speed and height, but Mack Rides was experiencing a slack period which prevented it from building Silver Star, for example.
And when I ask people which ride you love most at Europa Park, and if they say Silver Star, I'm not happy. I prefer Blue Fire. No, because Silver Star was built in 2000. And at that time, Mack Rides was not really able to build huge rides like this one. So we had the round rides, so small ones, and we had water rides, but we had no real coaster.
Blue Fire, from afar or up close, is a launched roller coaster that makes you dizzy, even behind the scenes. And for good reason. It required many discussions before its construction, which was completed in the record time of 4 months.
The family Mack was thinking we need another big coaster at the park, yeah? And Roland Mack said, oh, from whom we should buy that? And we said, yeah, from Mack Rides, yeah, please take it from Mack Rides. And he said, oh, not sure if you really can do that. And so we worked very hard to make a nice layout, to have all the technical issues solved, and presented it to him. This was the biggest risk he ever did in his life, because he said if it wouldn't work, he cannot go to court with his own company, yeah, because both belonged to him. But it worked very well, and this is for me one of the most important milestones for Mack Rides, because afterwards we sold a coaster like. Also, in the meantime, we have built more than 25 coasters, big ones.
Blue Fire is a 1,056-meter-long ride whose construction was made possible thanks to the production method's starting base. Here, there's no need to assemble the rides beforehand on the supplier's site. They are manufactured with computer assistance as parts. This system allows the whole thing to be assembled on the final site, delivering unprecedented quality in the curvature of the rails, ideal for guaranteeing passenger comfort. Blue Fire attracts 1,720 visitors per hour. Ride duration, 2 minutes 30 seconds. An intense moment, considering the different elements of this circuit, which is a first for the park.
When we decided to build the Blue Fire, we had no inversions, no coaster with inversions. Because also Franz Mack, who was still alive at that time, the father of Roland and Jürgen Mack, he said, I don't want inversions, because our inversions are nothing for the family. So it was difficult to convince him, but we thought that inversions are very important.
And not one, not two, but 4 inversions can be found on this ride. It's a course that this Mack Rides engineer knows by heart. Roller coasters hold no secrets for him.
It's a really fun part to design it because you need to be creative, but it's a really fun part to be on the coaster, and it's, yes, at the end it's more fun to be on the coaster than designing it. The Blue Fire, you start, of course, like every coaster, you start in the station, then you come to a stop. By a magnetic field, you're getting pushed to a speed of 100 kilometers per hour, and the acceleration is in approximately 2.5 seconds. And after these 80 meters of accelerations, you are reaching the first high point, which is approximately 40 meters high, and we call that as a horseshoe, where you have a 90-degree banking, so you're tilted to the outside, and you're quite slow in that area, so that you really also get a sensation of the height. And then after the tunnel, we go through the looping, which is 32 meters high and which is one of the highest in Europe. Then after the looping, you have a very quick turn, which is called a dive element, where the vehicle is also turned to the side.
All these elements can give you the feeling of taking off from your seat. And the speed is such that falling from the train is a real fear.
Due to the design of the roller coaster bogie, so the wheel part, it is impossible that the roller coaster vehicle can fall off the track because we have a running wheel, a side wheel and an upstop wheel, so it is more or less clamped around the track tube, and therefore it's, as said, it's impossible that the roller coaster can fly away.
But what are the mechanical principles at work behind Blue Fire? How does the acceleration and, above all, the braking work?
The roller coaster sensation, that is not really coming from the speed, so this is always coming from the acceleration. So even with less speed, you can still create nice feelings, and this is then you need to do tighter turns. At the Blue Fire, you need that 100 kilometers per hour also to reach the final brake. And therefore, if you take a look at the elements, every element is becoming a bit smaller the further the ride goes. This is coming from the friction part because you lose the energy. To reduce the speed in the final brake, we have a magnetic brake. So we have a permanent magnet on the coaster part, so on the lower frame of the coaster vehicle, we have a permanent magnet, and we have a metal fin which sits on the coaster track, and when the train is coming and is rushing through the metal fin, then the magnetic field is introduced and the coaster vehicle is getting braked.
And Blue Fire, like all coasters, requires constant maintenance and rigorous logistics.
We have a lot of attractions, so the most complicated part is keeping track of every different aspect of that. We have the technical maintenance, we have the people working there, which are a couple hundred, and they all need to be briefed, they all need to know what they're doing. We need to make sure that they know what they're doing. I have to check the people that do the briefing, if they know what they're doing. So it's a lot of keeping the overview. That's what most guests don't notice because they shouldn't. They only come here to have a good time and then they leave as hopefully happy. And it's a lot of work to keep this process hidden and to keep it very safe and very good.
Maintenance operations are performed twice a day. And for the roller coasters, the day starts early. By 6 a.m., 2 mechanics are checking each wheel on the train, whatever the weather conditions.
We always wax the wheels regular. And how we do it, we spin the wheels, we take a brush and we wax the wheels. They check the trains, they check the bolts, and then we have another team that checks the steel work of the structure. And then we have another team from operations. They will clean, they will make sure everything is tidy, they will make sure everything is operational, they will do the daily tests, and then we can start the operation of the attraction.
To get the most out of a roller coaster, you have to feel safe. Here, as in many other parks, the system used is called lap bars, or individual safety bars. They adapt to each rider's morphology.
It's crucial for this part that the operator goes and checks that the lap bar is really close to the body. There should be no air between, for example, the leg and the lap bar. So he will push down the lap bar and he will pull it to see if it's locked. It always locks, and the lap bar is designed in a way that you have a lot of freedom. You don't have any shoulders restraints. You have your whole upper body is free of movement, so you can really feel the sensations and still be safe.
But how to enrich the emotions and create new sensations? How do you stay attractive and not look old-fashioned to young people? The answer is being explored by Mac Next, a company created in 2019 by Roland's eldest son. Because in the Mac family, everyone is involved.
It's a family industry, really, and it all started with families. Even Disney was a family business when he started his first park in Los Angeles, and so I'm close to this idea, and I think it's a lot which gives a family to the industry, because there is a picture behind the company.
values shared by Michael Mack, loyal to the past yet forward-looking.
I think every generation has his challenge. Being the oldest of the age generation, I try to look how we can change our business for tomorrow. And I think that's challenging, but a great joy to achieve when you see every day that new technology works in a business which is 240 years old.
The aim here is to imagine the world after without losing sight of the world before. But how to link the two?
Steve Jobs, who once said, I have to give the people the product which they can't imagination yet. This is difficult in digitalization because a lot of people don't understand what is in my mind. But having said so, I think the first step of virtual reality was our coastiality experience. So we put a headset on a roller coaster. We transported over millions and millions in 70 different theme parks with our technology. So I think we had actually the biggest VR use case in Europe after Meta, Oculus, and maybe the Sony VR. So we are quite proud to belong to the top 3 players in VR.
To understand the importance of this innovation, a short tour on Alpen Express is in order. Built in 1984 by Mack Rides, it was then called the Alpine Express and had a train equipped with an engine. Speed, only 45 kilometers per hour. One wonders whether the virtual reality here is a way of boosting the attractiveness of an attraction that had a fall-off in riders. With coastiality, are roller coasters enjoying a second youth?
If you look at Alpen Express was the first coaster at Europa Park, and it was really dropping numbers when 2015 we established coastiality. So I think what is very important for a theme park operator is like to keep the roller coaster, and that's my heart for roller coasters, to keep it original, because I think not everybody wants to have a VR headset. Not everybody wants to be in a virtual world, especially the elderly grown up. They should still be having the opportunity to ride the roller coaster as it is. But if you share the half of the train and give also the opportunity to young kids who are growing up with that technology, I think this is the family approach, what Europa Park is doing for many, many years, to have fun for the whole family.
Alpen Express Coastiality is the world's first virtual reality roller coaster. But how does coastiality work? In 2015, Mack Rides engineers developed a small black box that slides under the train and uses optical cameras to measure wheel velocity. A complex system when you know that roller coasters can be more or less fast according to the time of day.
So in the morning, normally roller coasters are much slower than in the evening when the temperature goes up. So then by the measurement of the turning velocity of the wheel, the black box does exactly know where the train on the lake how it is. He sends a Bluetooth signal to the VR headset, and in real time, the content is rendered to the roller coaster.
Whatever the content, the headset lets you dive into a virtual world that is perfectly synchronized with the mega coaster's route. An important parameter because the journey must remain comfortable for the public.
We have other options of how you centralize in the station, but that's more or less operational helps. Like we have a camera system placed in the train station. So once also connected with Bluetooth, the camera sees if all the heads are turned straight, because for the content you have to sit straight to not get sick. So if somebody turns to the right, he will realize the system and will put the center field here. And there are another couple of different NFC technologies.
Here, virtual reality gives the roller coaster a double dose of thrills, and for good reason. Thanks to the accelerations and the headset images, it is possible to trick the brain. The visitor can indeed believe that he's in a loop or even an inversion, even if this is not the case in reality. With coastiality, you can have many different experiences on a single circuit.
It's true that you can change a track layout, like just visually, that you can do things which roller coaster is not supposed to do at the moment, but still, you can't see your hands in virtual reality, you can't see your feet. So it's just a movie on a roller coaster, which obviously can trick your mind.
For example, if you sit in the train and one train sits on the other track, like in the station, I mean on the railway, and then the next train is moving slightly. You sometimes have the feeling, oh, I'm moving, but in reality only the other train is moving because you do not really have the sense directly that you already moved when it is quite gentle, the acceleration. Of course, when you have the high acceleration in a roller coaster like Blue Fire, you get that feeling immediately.
But why isn't Coastiality installed on roller coasters like Blue Fire or Silver Star? Is there any danger in combining virtual reality with circuits that are already very powerful in themselves?
The velocity is not an issue for the system, so you can put it on any roller coaster as fast as the roller coaster it gets. The problem is more the headset, which might fall off if the roller coaster is too quick or makes too many steep.
Today, Coastiality is sold all over the world. Its equipment can be integrated into various types of rides.
It's a quite wide field of technology, but the good thing is that we're working right now on a platform to put it into the next level, to have around the world, like, let's say, the iTunes for roller coaster. So you just, or the App Store for roller coasters. So literally, my dream is one day that children at home play their most favorite computer game, and in a little configurator, they can build their own roller coaster of the future. And they just take their smartphone, come to the theme park and have a look in it and say, like, Coastiality inside, or this roller coaster has Coastiality, and they just come there with their favorite game and click in, and then they can ride a roller coaster in their favorite game.
Europa Park never stops trying to surprise. Maybe that's why it's been voted the best amusement park 7 years in a row. A feat that the Mack family hopes to continue.
It's not ended. The book is not closed with the development of Europa Park because Europe is going to get bigger, and so we have a lot of stories to tell in the future.
One day, for sure, all the space will be taken, and then we have to think how to maybe change villages or bring new ideas to the old villages. But it's always very important to not only look into the future, what's coming next, but also to look at the old things and keep it in shape, and then bring new ideas. For example, like the VR.
I hope we can develop it out of Europe, let's put it that way. I think it's very important to have a European identity also in the virtual world, and we want to stay European, and whoever want to join in Europe is more open to and feel free to join our Europaverse.
It never stops, so if you know the Mack family, there's always invention, and we are always moving forward. So I think the next generation also will bring their ideas, and for sure it's not the 8th generation that will end this beautiful park. It's the 9th or 10th, hopefully the 11th, to bring this beautiful business to the future.
There's so many things going on. I never could have thought for that when I started. Maybe if I would have known, I wouldn't start at the park. What's coming up? Yeah, it's a lot of work to do, but it's also creative, and you can develop. That's the other side of the medal.